We are AWP.
Hello, welcome to the latest episode of the We Are AWP Voices podcast, a monthly podcast aimed at shedding some light on the inner workings of Avon in Wiltshire Mental Health Partnership NHS Trust. In this month's edition, we're joined by three people who are going to talk a little bit more about apprenticeships. Perhaps I can just quickly go around and ask you all to introduce yourselves and your role at AWP.
Absolutely. Hi, I'm Tony Westacott, Learning and Development Manager in AWP.
Hi, Tony.
Hi, I'm Olivia Mears, Project Support Officer for the Kingfisher Project.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm James Wyatt. I'm a registered mental health nurse.
Brilliant, thank you very much. Welcome all of you, thank you for joining us here today to talk about apprenticeships. Tony, if I can start with you, welcome to the podcast, thank you for joining us. Perhaps you could tell us a little bit more about your role, what does that involve?
Okay, so I'm a Learning and Development Manager, which means I'm involved in many areas of education and training, but one of my key areas of responsibility is overseeing and involvement in apprenticeship activity in the organisation. So I was involved in that from the start, from the implementation of what was called the Apprenticeship Levy, which gave us a considerable amount of funding to utilise purely on apprenticeship programmes in AWP, which gave us the ability to invest those funds in apprenticeship programmes for staff across all of our clinical and non-clinical and corporate services. So we've kind of built that from a fairly conservative level up to a position where lots of people within the organisation have undertaken apprenticeships across a range of subjects at different levels of education. So, but I work with a small team of apprenticeship coordinator and an apprenticeship manager, and some admin support in keeping that on the road and developing further.
You described to me as the man who knows everything about apprenticeships. You're a bit of our apprenticeship expert.
I've been doing it for quite a long time.
Yeah,
there are people that know more than me, definitely. But yes, certainly been quite heavily invested in apprenticeships for most of my time in learning and development.
Great. And what is it your team that you work with? What is it they actually do in relation to apprenticeships? Then?
All things apprenticeship, really, and not just apprenticeships. There are other emerging programs of vocational education that we keep an eye on, the way that they're developing across the country and the region, and to see what interest we would have in that as an organisation. But apprenticeship wise, they provide a lot of advice, information and guidance to staff that are interested in undertaking an apprenticeship. They work with managers in helping them advertise and go through the recruitment process for new to role apprenticeship programs, making sure that people have got the entry criteria for various programs. They deal with all the onboarding, making sure that people get onto programs in a timely way. Monitor progress, which involves working really closely with a range of further education and higher education providers that we work in partnership with, so there's constant contact with them. There's also things like the financial management of our levy funds and our ability to forecast how much we can spend and on what going forward, because all apprenticeship standards cost different amounts depending on the duration and the level of education. And what we want to do is ensure that we future-proof that financial investment to ensure that we've still got enough opportunities right across the board for staff going forward, and we don't run out of funds.
And that's great. So let's talk about what an apprentice is. Let's define that for those listeners who don't know.
Yeah, okay. I think, well, basically speaking, an apprentice is the important thing. An apprentice is an employee, so they are on a formal contract of employment while undertaking a nationally approved apprenticeship standard that aligns to their job description and role at the same time. So the whole essence really is that combination of working in a role and learning the kind of theoretical basis and the skills and behaviours attached to that role at the same time for a period of time until they reach a point of completion and they're deemed then to have met all the competencies associated with that particular job or role. So it really is one of the longest, most well-established forms of vocational education that we've had in this country. But since apprenticeship reform and the introduction of the Apprenticeship Levy in 2017, we've seen huge changes, and also the dispelling of some of the myths, I think, about apprentices, and apprentices being young school leavers. Of course, we do have apprentices that are young people and undertaking their first qualifications post school, but we also have apprentices who are older, that have had work experience in other fields and perhaps have changed direction and changed sectors or roles and starting to learn the skills associated with these new roles. And we also have apprentices that are training beyond the traditional kind of level 2 or GCSE level, but training at level 3 A level and into higher education. We've got many apprentices and have had many apprentices in AWP that have gone through higher education courses and obtained bachelor's degrees through an apprenticeship route.
Fantastic.
One of them with us today.
Nice segue. Should we move on to Liv then? So, Olivia, thank you. Welcome to you. Thanks for joining us today. So you're someone who took the apprenticeship route and joined AWP as an apprentice.
Yeah.
Perhaps you could tell us a little bit about your current role,
Yeah.
what you do at AWP, and then maybe talk about how you started out as well.
Yeah, that sounds good. So I'm currently a project support officer for the Kingfisher project, which is kind of a high profile project going on at the moment for a new service for adults with learning disabilities and autism. So I sit within business planning and development, and I support that project in kind of all different ways, everything from kind of events to commissioning to holding the meetings and making sure kind of everyone's doing what they should be and working with different stakeholders, which is really, really great, and especially lived experience members. I find that really interesting and rewarding.
How's that going?
Yeah, it is going really well. Yeah, it's really interesting. I think to be there from the beginning and going to be there to, you know, the point of opening and going live is, it's absolutely great seeing it come together. I sit within business planning and development, so we kind of hold a few projects, and I think that completing my level 4 project management qualification it went really well with this role and kind of went hand in hand. So previously I was doing administration in the same team. I started doing the level 4 apprenticeship and kind of went into the project support role, and it just worked really well, and I really don't think I'd be able to do this role now without completing that qualification. And it just gives you all the kind of skills and knowledge that you need to be able to do it and to manage it, really.
So could you tell us a little bit about that apprenticeship role that you took on?
Yeah.
And maybe explain why you chose that as well.
Yeah, so it seemed kind of like the best and most natural next step after completing the level 3 business administration apprenticeship. I found project management really interesting and kind of doing snippets of it in my previous role. I thought that would be a great next path to follow, really. So it is a really good apprenticeship. It's kind of 18 months to 2 years, so it's kind of a decent amount of time, but you really get stuck in and different kind of methods of working, different approaches to working, using Gantt charts and how you kind of really organise your work and how you can work to the best of your ability. And it was really great to kind of go into that and study with other people from different organisations at all different levels and all different ages, you know, private sector, I'm NHS, there's people working in kind of car garages and stuff like that, so we'd really put our knowledge together and work together, which is really interesting.
Yeah. And have you found the support that you've received whilst doing that at AWP?
The support has been amazing. My line manager has been really, really supportive, and kind of more senior management. I had time to study and, you know, complete my exam and go to college when I needed to. They've been really, really supportive, which is great, and they're always kind of, you know, highlighting new opportunities and what could be like a next step, and it's been great.
Fantastic. And we talk about support, and we're joined as well by James. Welcome, James.
Hello there.
For joining us. And you've supported other apprentices going through at AWP. Perhaps you could tell us a little bit about your current role and what you do at AWP at the moment.
So at the moment, I'm a registered mental health nurse. I qualified in June last year, and I'm currently working for a community mental health team, and I'm on the psychotic pathway. So I currently support people with psychosis, schizophrenia, all those kind of forms, and dementia as well in areas like that. But when it comes to supporting apprentices, it's kind of very natural. If they come into the team on placement, I'm always very supportive and very encouraging in itself. So if I know there's assistance to be had, then I will do my part to kind of like help them progress in forms, because I know, especially in apprenticeships, there's always lots of questions people have, some uncertainties, and I think in the early stages of my apprenticeships, it's not necessarily that it was the trust. It was like there were some questions that were never really answered, but since then I've learned how to manage that, and I've always tried to better that kind of part of my troubles, let's say. It might have been very much a personal thing, I don't know, but I always make sure that any apprentices that come my way, that I offer any assistance or ability that I can, and that's through like just giving out my contact number or even my email address, that if they have a question they can just email me, and I'm more than happy to like oblige to see if I can help them in any form.
How have you found working with the apprentices?
Oh, great! Like they've all been very enthusiastic, and I think that shows a lot about the passion of what they want to do. So I think I primarily see a lot of student nurses, so very much that kind of area, and you can see how passionate they are about nursing and caring for patients and clients. So that's always really nice, and that kind of reinforces what I'm doing as well with supporting them. So if I can get some positive action from their feedback, then it's just vice versa, then it's all really good. So yeah.
That's great, thank you. I mean, we've talked there, Tony, about a couple of different roles that we've obviously have at AWP, apprenticeship roles, but maybe you could talk to us a little bit about the different, other roles that we've got here at AWP as well.
Yeah, well, Olivia and James are two very good examples of people that have undertaken apprenticeship programs, one in a clinical context leading towards a registered nursing degree, and Olivia first in business administration and then onto associate project management. So those are two of quite popular areas, I would say, within the organisation. But in clinical areas, in support work, we've had and do have a lot of healthcare support or senior healthcare support worker apprentices who gain qualifications and the functional skills in maths and English, if they don't have them already, to progress further onto higher education apprentices if they have the opportunity. We have apprentices in non-clinical areas like finance, HR, IT, business administration, as I said, but also customer service as well. We've had a number of apprentices in all sorts of roles, both clinically and non-clinically, undertaking management and leadership apprenticeships. Some of them at level 3 or kind of A-level standard for those people that are new to management or junior managers, and others at foundation degree level, at level 5, undertaking team management and department management qualifications, which come with a nationally approved management qualification and accreditation as well. So we've had a lot of people undertaking that. Going back to the clinical standards, apart from nursing, we've had people train as nursing associates at foundation degree level. We've had people trained to be occupational therapists, and a small number of people trained to be social workers as well through apprenticeship programs. And there's also a role that we've had in the past under an apprenticeship route called the clinical associate in psychology, which are people who already hold a psychology degree and then go on via an apprenticeship route to train towards to be a CAP or a clinical associate in psychology, assisting psychologists in a postgraduate role. So that has provided an opportunity for people that might have ordinarily in other circumstances been looking to go on to a psychology doctorate, but it's given them another postgraduate pathway into a vocational route associated with psychology. So those are just a few of them. I think the important thing with apprenticeships and some of the work that we do within the team it's just keeping a close eye on the standards that are being developed nationally that might be available, and also forming relationships with those providers that will be offering those, because there are hundreds and hundreds of apprenticeship standards across all levels of education within the country. Many of them aligning to jobs within the NHS and AWP. So lots of opportunities. I think one important thing to say is that an opportunity that someone may wish to apply for or follow needs to align to our business need. It needs to align to roles that we need within the organisation and skills that we need. But the diversity of qualifications and programmes on offers is pretty wide.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's a wide range of opportunities, but and it's sort of getting away from that idea, like you said earlier, about apprenticeships just being open to sort of post-16 people just leaving school and moving into a working environment. There's a range of different opportunities there for people at different stages of their career, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. There is, and I think the thing to recognise as well, there's many different ways of accessing an apprenticeship, like I say, but sometimes they'll be advertised as apprenticeship opportunities in kind of business administration or healthcare support, for example. But we have many apprentices within the organisation who have worked in a role for a while but never have studied towards a formal vocational education aligning to their particular role. So we've used apprenticeship opportunities to upskill existing employees as well as people coming in to new roles.
So James, maybe I can come to you and ask you about your experience, your background, how you came into your role and the apprenticeship that you did.
Yeah. Do you want to start from the beginning? Or before I came into mental health? Or
if you like, yeah. Tell us about your experience post education and how you got started.
So I guess in school I was very average, let's say, but I was very fortunate that I joined the fire service not long after my college. So I did that for quite some time. Loved it. Unfortunately, I was in a car accident where I broke my back and I couldn't go back into the fire service. And during that phase, I was doing like recovery, lots of operations and so forth, but I couldn't go back to that. So I unfortunately did hit a spout of depression, but I was supported through a community team at the time. And after that, that was what I needed. This one person who came to support me, Gary, he helped me get back on my feet, and that was my new drive to work in mental health. So I went and I got a job with another trust at the time, and since then I moved to AWP in 2014. So I've been with the trust now just over 10 years now. I worked as a mental health / care coordinator in the community, and before I started my degree I was going through a phase of umming and ahhing if what else I could do next. I was very limited with my current education, so I did have to talk to lots of people, and actually this is when I got in touch with Tony probably years ago. You may not even remember now.
No, I remember very well. Yeah.
But I was thinking, what can I do next? And there was a point where I was probably sadly going to be looking at leaving AWP to do something else. But then my management, lo and behold, said, "Oh, did you know about the apprenticeships?" I was like, "No, I did not." So next thing I know, I'm looking all through that, and I had to go redo my maths and English at night school just to make sure I got the grades. And then lo and behold, Tony interviewed me 5 years ago, and I started my apprenticeship then. So I've been doing my apprenticeship it was a 4.5 year process, so quite a long one, but now I think it actually goes by quite quickly.
And how did that go? How was the experience? Did you enjoy it?
I tell you what, it was knackering. But it was. I think now it was worth it, because now I feel so much more confident in myself. Like nearing the end of my training, a lot of imposter syndrome was kicking in. I didn't really trust my instinct or my gut. Yeah. But now, I know it's only been probably 6 months, give or take, but I do already feel a lot more confident in what I'm saying and what my decision making is, because at the end of the day, my role is to help people into recovery and some form of stability to get back into the community, which I think I do, without blowing trumpet, I think I do very well. I've been doing it for, like I said, 10 years now, and my previous and current management, they've all been very supportive with the whole apprenticeship, which makes it great. obviously there's lots of hiccups of that, because the perk being, obviously, like it's been mentioned, that we are employees still during the apprenticeship, which gave a lot of reassurance to me that I was still receiving like a salary and I was still learning. I said the bills were paid and all that. So, but it was still very hard. There's no denying it was hard, because you have to do your training, placements, the travel before that sometimes, and then there's the learning and completing exams and stuff. But I was given like very much appropriate, probably more than needed time off to make sure I'd done that all. So it was very fulfilling, I'll give you that. Tiring, but worth it, is what I'd say.
Going back, if you went back in time and you could look at your sort of journey as it is now, would that still be the choice that you'd make, or do you think there was other options that you would have taken?
It's hard to say, to be fair.
Yeah.
I never saw myself in this line of career. I was very much like, I'm going to be a firefighter through and through.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to do, and I did go back to that briefly for retainment. I did that for a little while, but then I wanted to grow a beard. You're not allowed to do that in the fire service, so I thought, what else can I do next? But I never found myself being a mental health nurse, especially. But I've always been a person that wants to help others, which kind of gives me that incentive to help other apprenticeships as well, to get the best out of what they're doing. So I've always got something to share, positive or negative. So, but it's the negatives that make you better, because you learn from those.
Yeah.
So there's always something to gain. So.
Excellent, thank you. I mean, Liv, maybe you could talk to us a little bit about how you came across the apprenticeships, what your kind of your journey was after leaving school and education.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I went in to do my A-levels, which was really fun, but I think I was almost a bit lost. I didn't really have the opportunity to go to university, but also wasn't bothered about that. Went into my first job within primary care. That was really kind of eye-opening, and then coming across this role, it just seemed really, really interesting. The first kind of role I joined AWP in was learning and development, and they gave me the first opportunity with the business administration, and I really think it kind of went from there, really. Really, really grateful for that opportunity. I think it just goes to show you don't necessarily have to go to university. There's so many other routes you can take, and it really doesn't matter of your age either, because it might take a few years to kind of figure out what you want to do, and I think that can really steer you the right way, and you'll pick up bits and you'll be like, oh, I found that really interesting actually, how can I take that forwards? And I think the team around you and the management supporting you can just make a huge difference as well, and just really give you that confidence. And I think I'm similar really, and with the imposter syndrome, you think, am I actually doing this? Am I managing this kind of big project? And you're given the tools and the skills and the support to do so. So why not just go for it? And you just grow from there, really.
Yeah, that's great. Having worked with you a lot on the Kingfisher, I know what a fantastic job you're doing. So you shouldn't feel like you have imposter syndrome at all.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's interesting. You talk about degrees and those other forms of education, and there are obviously lots of routes that people can go down, aren't there? But that was never something that you don't sort of regret, that you don't look back on that and think that wasn't for me.
No, I don't think so. It kind of, there was a flitter in my head years and years ago about nursing, and I think I kind of got past that, and a lot of my friends went off to university and now they're doing great, but I've also got a lot of other friends, including myself, that did the apprenticeship route, and they're also doing absolutely amazing and in jobs that they really love. So I think it can be so beneficial. I don't regret it. And it was, I think, definitely the second apprenticeship, the project management one, it was definitely a step up. You can feel that progression, and the work that you've got to put in is like James said, the kind of managing it alongside your normal job. It can be really challenging, but once you get to that end point, it is so rewarding, and it's really good.
That's great. And Tony, I mean, you mentioned some of the support available earlier, and obviously Liz talked about the different levels there that people can go through in terms of getting an apprenticeship. Can you talk a little bit more maybe about the support that's available for those people, those apprentices going through that process, and what you can do to help?
I think one thing that we have right across the organisation, after a few years of people becoming very familiar with having apprentices within the workplace, I can't think of any areas that haven't really been very enthusiastic and supportive to apprentices. It happens out there. Our central function in terms of apprenticeships consists of a couple of people, you know, and we all work to make opportunities available, keep the show on the road, so to speak. But the hard work, and Olivia and James will have told you, is done by those kind of local mentors and managers and people within teams that support our apprentices. And within we have a yearly, we'll probably come on to it, but yearly, as you know, we have Apprenticeship Awards within the organisation, and a proportion of those award categories are actually devoted to those that support apprentices out there in teams, because they make it happen. Without that, and I'm sure you guys would agree, you wouldn't get through the programmes. You wouldn't get that through the day-to-day stresses, the work involved, the particular kind of moments of heat when you've got loads of assignments and exams to sit, and you're balancing work alongside of that. I think our managers have been fantastic in supporting people and just being really quite sympathetic to just what a juggling act it can be on apprenticeship programmes, and that's what sees people through. And of course, centrally we assist with any issues that there might be with apprenticeship providers, or you know, any guidance that's needed from an apprenticeship perspective. But it's a whole organisational approach really to making apprentices and apprenticeships successful in any trust, or any employment sector organisation.
That's great, thank you, Tony. What would you say to managers who are considering supporting apprentices on their teams then? How would you encourage a manager to sort of take that step?
I think it's recognising what the end product becomes really. We've seen, and we've got two fantastic examples in Olivia and James today, people that have gone through programmes and they've learnt new skills, new behaviours, new areas of knowledge that have helped them just do new things, which adds to the organisation's skill base and skill mix at the end of the day. Some managers can be a little bit reluctant around the level of support that they have to do in kind of juggling other learners within the organisation, because obviously we've got a lot of students, student nurses and other professions, etc. But I think they have realised that, as James said earlier, the apprentices that come into the workplace, they do have an enormous amount of enthusiasm, and they're doing it because they want to do it. And it's a two-way partnership. And one thing that we always say to managers is you need to make that apprentice own this. So if there's something that you don't understand, i.e. how does this work, what do you need, what are you studying at the moment, what support do you need, they need to tell you. And I think when that works well, then managers find the role of supporting people a lot more easy and a lot more enjoyable and fulfilling. And we have managers across many teams that are really enthusiastic about supporting apprentices, whether they sit within their teams or accepting clinical apprentices on placements, whatever level of involvement is. But we do spend time talking to managers who are not familiar with supporting apprentices, just giving them the information. I think it's been really open and honest about what it takes. Because you guys probably agree that the support that the managers give you, it takes something off them as well.
Because that was one thing that I was going to add, is that sometimes when we get brand new apprentices on placement, is that sometimes they and the manager are not fully aware of what time they have and for like training and stuff like that. So sometimes I tell the apprenticeship, well, actually you should have this and this. So sometimes it is about just going back to their manager, and sometimes it is going through a bit of paperwork to see what is actually relevant and what the time is needed, because it can be one of those things that if you're not aware of it, it will just be lost in time. So, and that's the good thing about the apprenticeships really, is that it's very fruitful with the time that required to study and stuff, because like you said earlier, it is juggling we're juggling like
Yeah.
caseloads, work, exams, all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. So
Yeah.
it is making sure that the managers are fully aware, because sometimes you're right, they're not fully
Yeah.
aware,
Mm.
but all it needs is like one person just to say, well, actually,
Yeah.
that, and then next thing you know, you're going to have it. So
I
Yeah.
think about feeling comfortable as well, and there's that open door where you can say, do you know what, I feel really overwhelmed, can you support me to manage my workload? Can I just have a couple of hours just to do this, you know, coursework that the deadline was kind of, you know, whenever, and just feeling supported. And I think with the way you mentor apprentices, that you've got that experience of doing it yourself, haven't you? Which I think is priceless, because you really do know how they feel.
If you don't speak up,
Yeah.
then you're just going to
They'll
slowly
think they're
burn out.
everything.
Yeah,
exactly.
because there was a time I asked for that. Like I think
Yeah.
there was just too much. Because in the community I still held a caseload at
Yeah.
the same time as my study, and my managers and my senior pracs were really good at like lowering my caseload just to help me with my studies. But even then, there were times where it felt too much,
Yeah.
and there were times I did ask, look, I need a couple of days just to
Yeah.
either catch up with my work
Yeah.
or do my exams, and then most of the time they were like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
So it's just giving and notifying that
Yeah.
we are all human.
Exactly.
We do eventually burn out, and
Yeah.
even stuff in our personal life that can also be impacting as well.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's just
Yeah.
working out all the details
Yeah,
really.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
But you've both found your management support really responsive
Mm.
to that
Really
when
great.
you've spoken up and said, I
Amazing.
need a bit of extra
mm.
support. And I think we
Really.
find that across all of the organisation really. It's very unusual that managers aren't very responsive. But like I say, I think that's taken a process of just instilling that culture of having many apprentices within
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
organisation.
Yeah, there's a lot more now
There's a
than there
lot
were
more.
like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It seems to be quite normal now for 1 in 4 teams to have at least 1 or 2 apprenticeships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very normal.
Yeah. And at the end of
So-
the day, it's benefiting the team, the trust, everything, isn't it? So I think
Mm.
it's in everyone's best interest. But I found management so supportive, and it's made the world of difference. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And they see the benefit. And going back to your original
They do. Yeah.
Mm.
question, Matt, I think managers do see the benefit of having people on a programme of vocational education and what the individual gains from it, but what
Yeah.
the wider team and the wider service gains from it
Yeah.
as well.
I was going to say, what do you think are the benefits of, for not just for the individual, but for AWP of having apprentices?
Should I go? I've got a clear idea about
Yeah,
this.
you go.
Yeah.
It's you've got 3 fundamental elements of every apprenticeship, and we keep going back to this. It's knowledge, which any programme of education will give people.
Yeah.
Okay, but the apprenticeship difference, if you like, is that you have hands-on skills. Those are the implementation of that knowledge and behaviours. So the behaviours associated with any particular role that are expected.
Yeah.
And those 2 areas in particular, skills and behaviours, is where any organisation or any employer will benefit from apprentices, because it's about consistency of competencies, consistencies of standards, consistency of professional behaviour,
Yeah.
all of those things. You know what you kind of get.
It's like a natural growth, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're putting that kind of learning into real life
Mm.
examples, aren't you, and practically going with it. And yeah, I've
Mm.
found with mine, I could literally piece them together, and I'd learn something about that, and I'd be like, oh, can I please work on this part of the project, because that would really help me, you know, flourish these skills that I've just learned. And yeah.
Like I'm extremely grateful for like AWP even offering
Yeah.
the apprenticeships.
Yeah.
Like I have such gratitude for it really, because I've
Yeah.
learned so much, and even my management have also said they've seen the growth,
Yeah.
which I think is great feedback really, because
Yeah.
Yeah,
it kind of
so is it.
reinforces that, oh yeah, I'm doing all right actually.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, but it is very much like I do have this sense of like I owe AWP quite a lot now, just because of how thankful I am, because I never would have seen myself doing what I do today without that funding, that support
Yeah.
from not just you, Tony, but also like the management and even the people above.
Yeah.
So there's always a connection. So
It's a really
Yeah.
interesting point. It breeds that sense of loyalty to
Mm,
trust.
definitely,
Yeah.
I feel very loyal right now.
Yeah.
No, it really does. I agree. Yeah.
So I suppose that means that there's that encouragement then to sort of keep working for AWP, to keep progressing within the trust, within the
Yeah.
organisation. Presumably we see people going on up the system whilst working for AWP, or we hope to do so in the future.
Again, we've got 2 examples with us today, but there's many. many people that have, like Liv, have undertaken more than one apprenticeship, and started at one level, moved up and progressed to another level, and if you don't mind me saying, have actually gone into posts that align to that as well.
Yeah,
so it's
absolutely.
kind of your career development has followed your apprenticeship development at the same time.
Yeah.
In clinical services, we've seen people go into senior practitioner roles and management roles. I would say probably earlier than they would have done through the traditional direct entry nursing route. Possibly an additional factor with that, like you, James, you had a reasonable amount of clinical experience before you started your formal nurse training through an apprenticeship route.
I had a little bit of a head start. You
had a head start, and I think a lot of apprentices in clinical areas, they've had that kind of work experience and experience of the sector. They then start formal training. They hit the ground running the other end on graduation really quickly. So I think when you compare people that have perhaps come through other education routes and apprenticeships, that combination of the vocational workplace experience and the skills and theory and academic input as well, but all rounded into one, it does enable people to progress a lot quicker. Not just in here, but I'm thinking about I listened to something quite a while ago about the banking sector, and they were talking about people in one of our largest banks in banking groups in the UK, and a 22-year-old who'd followed two apprenticeship programs, one at a FE level and one at higher education level, who was a bank manager at the age of 22.
Wow.
Holy smokes.
That's kind of wow.
That's impressive.
Isn't it? And you think, how?
God, what have I done with my life?
Well, it's because they've been working in that sector since they were 16. And actually, that's 6 years. It can be done.
Because that's what I'm looking at. I'm thinking, what's next for me already? Because I want to keep going, and very much like you said, like the senior prac management, I would like to get into that. So it's like a gradual thing, but I'm working out my preceptorship first, and then I'll look at what's next. Because I'm very eager to keep going. So now I've got the itch for learning. I'm very much, the scratch will never be.
And like you said, that confidence.
I feel a lot more confident in my ability now, especially when not dealing with just patients, but also the carers and the families. So it comes tenfold really, and I feel like I'd like to think I make a good leader. So there's still growth there.
Definitely.
Have you got a vision? Have you got an idea of where you see yourself ending up?
I would like in the future to be some form of manager of a mental health team. I'm not sure which yet, but that would be my ultimate goal. Really, or even maybe a senior prac, something like that. I would be quite content with that, because it is more. I'm very team orientated. I'm very much a team player. I always make sure my colleagues are all well supported. I help them as much as I can, and it's very much reciprocated. And I feel if I was in that position, I could definitely offer better resources and stuff like that, and the support that everyone needs, because that's all it is sometimes, isn't it? It's just making sure that everyone does feel that supported, and then everyone does better in themselves, and they feel a lot more confident in their own ability, really. So that's what I want to keep going, which is why I've started, I guess, through the mentoring phase, is I'm helping apprenticeships and other students. That's why I want to keep going, really. And I've already spoken to a couple of people in AWP about that, but there's still time.
Good for you.
Absolutely. Just going back, James, and I think it's the same for you, that confidence aspect of it. Because we've seen over the years apprentices who have started from really, really diverse levels or baselines of education. Not just attainment, but their experience of education. I.e. people that have done pretty well, got to A level, not gone to university, come into a working role. People that have gone to school and hated every second of it, and left with nothing, and now have degrees, through apprenticeship and through original lower level apprenticeship programs and then into higher education. And one thing that I've noticed is the importance of that confidence building that vocational education can bring.
It really is.
And I think that comes more from that educational attainment through an apprenticeship, but working at the same time, because you're kind of getting your your own
Yeah.
abilities reinforced by others.
Yeah,
Does
absolutely.
that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. It is the best of both worlds. I think if I was just studying and wasn't, out working with other kind of stakeholders and teams and service users, that would be so daunting to eventually have to do that. But to kind of a mix of both, it really does build your confidence. And yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Well, I think especially like when I was in the early stages of my apprenticeship, my confidence in the learning phase was very much, well, I'm not sure about this. Very much lots of self-doubt, lots of that. And I remember when I got my first paper back, I was actually quite gutted with the result because I thought I worked really hard. It was still a pass regardless. Yeah. But I think...
What a high standard.
Yeah, I expected a bit more for my first paper, but maybe I was aiming too high at the time. But since then, I've noticed with all my papers, there's been a steady progression. I think it's not passed anymore, they're distinctions, and it's all just grown, really. And with that, the confidence.
Yeah.
Like, I feel a lot more confident in what I'm writing now. Especially when we're writing assessments, you have to back what you say. And if you don't have the knowledge behind that, then that's where things get a bit rusty and you falter. So I'm very confident in that kind of area, for sure. So
That's great. Liv, how about you? What's your kind of vision? Do you have a view of where you want to get to or where you want to go next?
So I think with the project coming to an end, I have recently been given another role within the trust, which is a promotion, which I'm really, really grateful for. So that is kind of more in operations, doing business management. So yeah, I think kind of getting stuck into that, and I was speaking to Tony earlier about potential other apprenticeships that could be, on the horizon, what would fit. I think it's good, isn't it, to see what would fit well with that role. So yeah, kind of going in that direction, really. And I really don't think I would have got to that stage without kind of completing these apprenticeships, because it's taken me kind of up band by band. And yeah, really, really grateful for that. So yeah, looking forwards to that. It's going to be change and it's going to be different, and it will be a step up. But I think, like we said, it's about building your confidence and getting rid of that imposter syndrome and just thinking, I can do this and I've worked hard, and yeah.
It's a natural progression, isn't it?
Exactly. It's not been a massive jump. It's been over years. Like I said, I've been in AWP 6 years, so it's been a growth, which is it's great to look back on and think that you've kind of come that far and been supported to grow.
Because it is very hard to grow, unfortunately, without some form of higher education.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, you do kind of get stuck at certain bandings.
Yeah.
Which is why I was struggling at the time, which is why, well, it's natural progression. I want to do what's next,
Yeah.
So, and that does come, obviously, with the pay. That's obviously much better. But there are reasons for it. It's not just because I want more money. It's just I want to do more with myself. I know I can give more.
Yeah.
So that's why we kind of climb. And congratulations on your new job.
Thank you so
really,
much.
I bet that's exciting.
It is exciting. It's daunting, but it's exciting. Yeah.
But then you seem confident already in it, and you're ready.
Thank you.
I can see that you're ready to go.
Thank you so much. Yeah. I'm hoping within more kind of operations. Like, I think having the experience from the project, working with, like I said, lived experience members, I'm hoping there can be more of that. I really, really enjoy doing that. And just seeing what we do, what the end result is. I think being corporate, you can almost be in a little bit of a bubble sometimes, can't you? But getting out there and seeing services and seeing how it's improving people's lives, I really find that really rewarding. So hopefully more of that going forwards.
We work off the back of each other though. Like, we need corporate and corporate needs us. So it's very much a connection with everyone involved.
Yeah.
So...
You talk about rewarding, Liv, and Tony mentioned earlier the Apprenticeship Awards we've got at AWP, which we run every year. I'm not sure how many years we've run it for now. It's a few years, maybe.
I think this is year 4.
Year 4, okay.
Yeah.
You should vote for me.
Yeah.
and am I right in saying we've had some nominations in the room previously?
Have we?
I'm not sure.
I don't know,
I think
maybe.
I have previously. I'm sure you have as well.
Oh,
I don't know if you always would know, but I think you definitely have.
You don't always get told, I think.
No.
I've got no trophy yet.
What awards have we got then in the Apprenticeship Awards?
So there's a number of awards, as I said earlier, both for apprenticeship categories. So we've got a clinical apprentice of the year, we have a non-clinical apprentice of the year, and we have an award for those that support apprentices, both as individuals, so an individual apprenticeship support, and a team apprenticeship support, and we also have an outstanding achievement award, and that one tends to go to people that have had fairly unique stories. So these guys and others will talk about the balancing act and the difficulties and the challenges, but there are some people that have had some really difficult life experiences or difficult times in the midst of their apprenticeship program and have just moved heaven and earth to overcome some of those obstacles and get to the end. So that's kind of recognised as well. So they're every year, these apprenticeship awards, and they take place every year during apprenticeship week. The voting process before then, but then the winners are announced during National Apprenticeship Week in February. So we always look forward to that. We have lots of nominations across the categories. People really keen to formally recognise the achievements and the progress that people within their teams are making.
And this is going out during Apprenticeship Week, so hopefully people will hear very shortly the winners of this year's Apprenticeship Awards at AWP, which will be great. Just as a little bit of a final message, maybe we could sort of go around and talk about what we would say to somebody maybe considering to become an apprentice. Maybe got a few words of encouragement. Liv, maybe I can come to you first of all, what your thoughts would be.
I just think go for it. It is so rewarding. It's really enjoyable. You get to meet so many lovely people, not only within the trust, but if you go to a college day and have a tutor and just get stuck in. I feel like the options are endless and it can make you progress and start a new career. I really didn't think I would go into project management and I absolutely love it. And now I'm looking into kind of going into operations and it's amazing. So I would say go for it. Yeah.
Thanks. James, any thoughts?
I would very much echo what Olivia just said, but also give it some thought because there's lots of apprenticeships out there.
Yeah.
I would say make sure you're picking the right one for you, and very much like Olivia said, like there is always support. And I think they always say there's no silly question. I think that stands clear because if you don't speak up, then there will always be you're struggling your own way. But I would very much echo that. I think you should definitely go for it. Pick your path and then fly, because as long as you've got the right support behind you, family, friends, your colleagues, your management, then you will do great. And I think that's the thing to remember, that you will grow. Because you'll be like me, when the time you finish, you're like, oh, what's next?
Yeah.
So, you know.
think sometimes you doubt yourself and you're like, I've done that. And you're like, now you're looking forward to,
exactly.
aren't you? So
yeah, exactly. Like, I remember just starting, like, I was very overwhelmed, but now it feels like a piece of cake back there.
It's amazing.
But there's always time to do something more.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what age you are. I was classed as a mature student, so which is disgusting. So, but you know, it's still great. A lot of the people I was working with throughout the apprenticeship were much younger than me, but also older than me. So it's like there's no age variation at all. You can always learn, and I say this a lot to my clients as well. That there's still time. You can do whatever you want.
You could change tomorrow, couldn't you? And just start something new.
If you want to do that, just got to look it up, apply, and there you go.
Yeah.
There's still always room for growing.
Excellent. Tony, how about you? Any sort of final thoughts for anyone considering, you know, whatever age, considering to especially become an apprentice at AWP?
Yeah, go for it. Get stuck in.
That seems to be the phrase.
As Olivia said. Absolutely, and I think it's realising that there are more than one avenue to accessing an apprenticeship. You've got to understand that there's a lot of internal activity around apprenticeships, as well as those jobs that you'll see on NHS jobs, for instance, saying for an apprentice healthcare support worker or an apprentice business administrator. People can come into the organisation that have got an interest in working in the sector, get a job, get a contract, and then quickly afterwards start undertaking a vocational programme through an apprenticeship as well. So there are routes. So if people don't always see that apprenticeship opportunity, it's to realise that in large organisations like AWP, if you come in to a post, there's a good chance there'll be an apprenticeship opportunity for you once you're in that can lead to progression to other places and other roles and promotion and different experiences that we've seen here. But I think there's a couple of key things that these guys have talked about today that is really, really important to me. One of them we mentioned earlier, confidence.
Yeah.
It's the confidence that vocational education brings and the way it can transform people's lives. And that can only be good for those individuals. And really selfishly, can be really good for the organisation and what we do.
Absolutely,
and the service that we provide. It's a win-win for everyone.
Oh yeah, for
it
sure.
Really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's a great way to end today's podcast. Thank you very much to all of you for joining. For James, Olivia, and for Tony, thank you for
Thank you.
joining
Thank
us
you so much.
to talk about apprenticeships. And thank you for listening to this podcast. We are AWP Voices, and we hope you can join us on our next podcast. Thank you.